Hello, my name is Josh, and I work at the SafeFood Pro support team. I've been helping customers for over 3 years set up their food safety plans into SafeFood Pro across a whole bunch of different industries. In this video, I'll be doing a full run through of how to set up SafeFood Pro, and hopefully under an hour. It's going to be a heavy one, I won't lie to you. So if you're brand new to SafeFood Pro, I'd recommend taking this one piece at a time. You don't need to watch the entire thing in one sitting, but if you are, grab a cup of coffee and let's get stuck in. So let's do a quick introduction of SafeFood Pro, okay? SafeFood Pro is of two platforms. On the left here, we have the admin console. This is the platform that you're going to be using to set up your account. It's also the platform that you'll be using to export reports when it comes time for auditing or verification, as we call it in New Zealand. This is the place where you'll be setting up your templates, and for the most part, we'll be spending our time here today. Now, I'd like to point your attention over to the mobile app on the right-hand side of the screen today. This is the place where your team and yourself will be actually completing forms. It's a portable app to be used on a tablet or a mobile phone so that you have easy access to forms wherever you are, whether it's back of house kitchen or front of house by the till. Now, let's start with the mobile app because this kind of sets up the framework of what we'll be talking about today. Oh, by the way, if you aren't sure what your password is, you can select Forgot Password and select Reset. And this will send you a password reset email that allows you to reset your password. Now, the email itself will expire in 2 hours. So make sure you get to it quick. But if you miss out on that invitation, just click the Forgot Password and run through the process one more time. So when we sign in, we'll be greeted with the diary page. The diary page is basically a checklist of different tasks that you'll be prompted to do. These are the forms that are scheduled in your account to be completed regularly. We have the today list, we have the this week list, and we have the this month list. These checklists, these little blocks here, are our forms, and they will refresh on that cadence. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I were to complete this temperature check today and I logged in all of my fridge temperatures, then I would be done with that form for today. But tomorrow I'll get a fresh template ready to be completed. And we'll be kind of going back to this, but you can basically gauge your success in SafeFood Pro by how often and how regularly you're completing all of your forms. These are the tasks that must be completed all the time. I'll talk a lot more about actually customizing these forms to match your needs once we go into the admin console, but just understand that for now. Now, if I wanted to complete a form, how do I do that? It's a very, very simple process. I will tap on the form, which will open up the different questions of the form. Now, there are a few different things to keep in mind here. We have the tally at the bottom of the screen indicating how many required forms there are to be completed. Now, a required form, a required question, sorry, is a question that must be answered before you're able to save the form as final. So in this case, we can see this required question marked in red. That is our one required question. So are there any signs of pests? If yes, explain what was found. If I select no, I'm not prompted to do anything. I can actually go and save the form as final. However, if I click yes, I'll be prompted to enter some notes about what happened. Now, I'll explain when we talk about building templates and stuff, how to make this work and how to customize it. But in the meantime, let's just talk about completing the form. So when you're completing a form, you also have the option of adding a corrective action. This is a way that you can select, create follow-up tasks for members of your team or just for yourself. It's a way to highlight this form as something that needs attention, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. On top of that, if you would like to add an image associated with a question or even just the entire form itself, you can click on the question, you can select the camera button, and that will allow you to take a photo with your tablet or phone. Or if you're using forms on the web, you can drag and drop an image from your computer to be uploaded into the form. Okay, great. Now that we've finished our form, how do we actually finish it? How do we save it as final? How do we verify who has completed the form? Well, SafeView Pro has an interesting way of doing this. Because we understand that a lot of the time you'll be using a shared tablet, it's not going to be based on who's logged in at a time. Otherwise, you'll be logging out and logging back in to determine who's actually using the tablet. Instead, we take a staff list from your admin console. Again, I'll talk about setting this up in a moment. But we have our staff list here. We just need to select who is completing the form. In this case, my name is not actually John Smith, but I am John Smith in this account. I will enter my PIN to show that I really am John Smith because I know my PIN. And then we can see that the form has been grayed out, indicating that it's been fully finished. Now, what if the form wasn't fully finished? Are we able to save the form as a draft, for example? The answer to that is yes. So we tap on the form, we answer, say, one of the questions, and then all of a sudden we're super busy. We need to throw the tablet away and go handle another task. So we've only answered one of these questions, though. If I click Save Draft and follow that same exact process, click my name, enter my PIN, then the form is saved as a draft form indicated by the orange pause icon. Okay, so this is what we do. If you need to go back and complete the form, you can tap on the form again and input the details. So that is a real quick introduction to the diary page. We also have the ad hoc forms page. Okay, so obviously with food safety, there are other checklists that need to be completed. Say, for example, there's an incident. Obviously, you can't schedule incidents, they just happen. So you need to go out of your way to find an incident template and complete it. And this is where the ad hoc forms page comes in. Now, ad hoc just means as and when necessary. So, for example, training doesn't necessarily need to be scheduled. Like if you get a new staff member, you can't guarantee that on a monthly basis. So you just need to complete a training form for that one new person. That's where this page comes in. So you can look through this list of forms to find the relevant form. For example, we have induction training for our newbie. Now, if you believe that you'll be using this form quite regularly, I would recommend clicking the little heart button, and then that form will appear right at the top of the list. Now, other notable forms that you'll be using here are the incident log. So let's save that, and maybe let's do a customer complaint as well, so that all of our team know for those regular forms, we need to have those right at the top, and they're under my favorites. Okay, pretty simple. Now, that is most of the app, to be honest. We wanted to make it as simple as possible, but those are the main things in terms of completing forms. If you want to access other parts of your SafeView Pro account, we also have a menu bar in the top left-hand corner. If you tap on that, you'll see the other parts of SafeView Pro. So a list of your equipment, a list of your resource, a list of your suppliers or contacts, and then namely your saved forms. Saved forms are basically a way for you to view previously completed forms or started forms. You can configure this or filter this by the date range. So for example, if I want to see all of the forms I completed in February, I wasn't very compliant in February. Let's stick with the last 7 days. Okay, I can select that and I can see which forms were fully completed and if there are any draft forms. Now, if there are any other, or if I only want to see draft forms, for example, I can click the little 3 dots and select only incomplete forms. And boom, this one with the orange pause will appear. Great. So I think that's all we need to talk about for the mobile app for now. I might come back to it as we kind of progress through this. But let's turn our attention to the admin console, as this is where majority of the setup will be taking place. So let's run through everything you need to know. Okay, I'll click sign in to log into my account. Boom, and we have this beautiful dashboard here. Now, the dashboard is the first page that we see. Also, this menu bar on the side here, I think it's collapsing at the moment, but we can click that little arrow to open it up and see a bit more. Yes, so we're currently on the dashboard. The dashboard is a page where you can get a quick glimpse into the activity occurring in your account. For example, we can see these buckets in the top of the page. They indicate, how many new staff we have, how many inductions have been completed, how many deliveries, etc., etc. We can also see the daily scheduled completion forms rate. So how many of these forms have we completed over the past week? So we can see today I completed the pest check, and so it's showing at 11%. Now, on the right-hand side here, we have the activity stream. As you can probably guess, it just shows you at the top, we have the most recent activities, and to the bottom, we have the least recent activities. Now, if I click on any of these forms or any of these activities, I'll be able to see what happened. For example, I can see that only one of these questions was completed. And yeah, so that is the dashboard. We also have some ways to track maintenance and see which maintenance and certificates are going to be expiring soon, but I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Lastly, if you want to configure this to a specific date range, you can use the date picker in the top right-hand corner. So we can click date range and customize it to our needs. So if I want to see all of March, I can just do it like that, click done, and boom, I can see the completion rates of all of March. Awesome. So that's the dashboard. Again, it's just a way that you can get a quick glimpse into the activity in your account. If you want to see a very recently completed form and just see what happened, or maybe someone added a corrective action to it, this is a good way to go about that. Awesome. So in terms of setting up your account, I would start in the My Business page, just because it's probably the most basic part. It's basically just a big form. So you need to go through and input the fields that apply to you. Not all of them are mandatory, but it's good to have. And I'll talk about why it's good to have in just a second. Also, if you want to spruce up your account a little bit, you can upload a logo, which is pretty good. Now, this won't apply if you're in a large group or franchise, as your logo will probably already be selected for you. But yeah, now the food plan details actually grabs all of that business information that you input, and it puts it into this big document. Now, this feature works better for single site accounts, if you're a single cafe as opposed to a large franchise. Now, I want to say that we've built this for our New Zealand clients to match the template food control plan and Simply Safe and Suitable framework of food safety. So if you're a New Zealand customer, this will probably apply better to you than our international customers. So international customers, just bear that in mind, okay? Now, international customers and New Zealand customers alike will still use this page because we have the Edit Food Rules button up here. Now, when you first set up your account, you probably remember a wizard or a long list of questions that you answered about your food control plan or your food plan. This is how you can reset that. So if you look through your forms list, which again, I'll talk about in just a second, and you notice that there are specific forms relevant to your food safety that are missing. An example I can think of in New Zealand is measuring sushi pH levels in rice. If you're missing those forms, there's a chance that you need to go through the wizard again and answer the question again. So bear that in mind. And again, that applies for international customers as well. If you're missing some forms, you can run through the wizard. For our large franchisee customers, your forms are probably set by your group administrator. So I wouldn't recommend going through the wizard if you don't need to. You can always contact me, by the way. Great. So if you want to actually like print out this big document, you can click the print button or email button. For New Zealand customers, this will be good when it comes to verification or audits. Your auditor may ask what your food plan is, and you can send them this document, which will kind of give them an idea of what your food plan is. Okay? Okay. I think that's enough on that. Let's not talk too much about settings just at the moment. The only thing I'll point your attention to is the summary email settings. If you would like to receive a email report once per week, once per day, once per month, for example, kind of talking about the activity in your account, you can input your email here, click enter, and then select whether you'd like to receive this weekly, monthly, or daily. Okay. Now you can also adjust the contacts label. Now I actually changed it from supplier, which is the default name, but you can make this whatever you want. So we'll talk about that in just a second as well. Great. So lastly here, I'd like to talk about the close dates. This page is built for if you have any days of the year that you are not operating, irregular days. So not just like we are closed on Sundays, but like Christmas or Easter, or those days of the year where you just aren't open, where you don't need to complete temperature checks. So to add in a close date, all we'll do is click add dates. Enter, let's say, April 1st to 3rd. You'll see it populate down here. If you like to remove it, you can delete the range. Very good. Now, when you've selected a close date, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Let me show you. I'm going to refresh the app now that I've made that change, and we should be able to see what it looks like. Great. So no forms are available. You can't complete any forms, even if you log into the app. Your ad hoc forms are still there, but it just means that your reporting looks a bit cleaner when you have a day of the year where you aren't completing any forms. Your auditor or verifier might be like, hey, what happened? You have an explanation, and your reports look cleaner because you didn't need to complete forms that day. They weren't even prompted. Okay, so that's close dates. Wait, let me remove that. Very good. Lastly, really, really quick, message logs. Message logs are just a log of the outgoing material from SafeFood Pro to you or members of your team. So it could be logs of push notifications, emails. So for example, a summary for Ivanhoe Road Flat, like I was talking about a little bit earlier. Those will appear here. The reason we have this is just so that you can keep track of stuff that's going out of your account. Say, for example, you don't receive an email when you think you're supposed to, you can come to message logs and check whether it was actually sent out from the system. If not, you can contact us and we can help you troubleshoot a little bit further. Not that that'll happen super often. Great. So my business. It's basically just a place where you can look at all of your business details. You can reset the food rules, the food questions, and get the correct forms into your account. And it's a way that you can add close dates and also view message logs. Cool. Now let's talk about staff and users. Like I showed you a little bit earlier, we have kind of an interesting way of doing this. We understand that in food businesses, you're not going to be on your mobile phone a lot of the time. A lot of the time, you're going to be using a tablet. So how do we determine who is completing a form when you're using a tablet? Well, the way that we figured it out is, I will explain this again, just in case you missed it. But when completing a form, for example, this cleaning checklist, you need to select your name from a list and then enter your PIN. And that is how we guarantee who is making those changes so that multiple people can go into this one form. They can answer different questions, but if they sign off against their name and their own PIN, that shows who is actually completing that form. So this separates people using the app into two categories. You have just people that appear in the list that don't have a login and people that do have a login. For example, your tablet or the admin who's going into the back end. So there are two ways that we can set people up into the system depending on how much access we want to give them. Okay, so let's start with adding a team member, just someone who's going to appear in the list, someone who's using the tablet login to complete their forms. All we're going to do is click Add, select Add Team Member. Brilliant. And we're going to set their name as Jesse Goldenman. Very nice. Good one, Josh. And then for the 4-digit PIN, we can set that to whatever we want. I will show you how you can adjust PINs after the fact, if need be. It's pretty simple. So 0000, very good. And then we can save that and tell Jesse, hey, Jesse, we've set you up in SafeFood Pro. Your PIN is 0000. Would you like us to change it? You can change it from the admin console over here, or you can head onto the mobile app, click the menu icon in the top left-hand corner, go down to the staff page, and then we can see Jesse Goldenman is right here. And one thing to mention is that not everyone can go in and adjust staff details from the mobile app. You need to be of a higher level. So those levels are admin, manager, user role is the correct term. They need to be of a correct user role. So we've got admin, manager, tablet manager. Okay, those are the ones that can go in and make adjustments, or the person themselves. So if I'm Jesse, I can actually go in and change this. So I select my name from the list, and then I can actually adjust their details. So, hey, Jesse, would you like to reset your PIN? Yeah, I'd love to. Open up their details, open up the PIN. Jesse can now set this to his own. Oh gosh, I have to do it again. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, I'm just gonna set it as 1111. My memory is not serving me anymore. Okay, save. Very good. Okay, now that is how to add a team member. This is just a person who's going to be logging in using the communal tablet and completing forms against their name. Now, if you want to set up a manager or someone of higher level access that will be able to log into the mobile app, log into the admin console with their own email address, we need to set up a user. So to do this, we click the green plus icon, select Add User, and then input their email and password. Pretty simple. But the most important part here, again, is the role, the user role. How much access are we actually going to give this person? If I'm setting up a communal tablet, I want to keep this as tablet because that email will only be able to log into our mobile app. Whereas if we set something of a higher level, like an admin or a manager, they will be able to log into the admin console, make adjustments to the back end side of things. Okay, so if you have a manager who needs to be able to view reports, needs to be able to add logins and adjust your templates, manager or admin is the way to go. Now, is there a difference between them? Yes. Admin can view the payment details of your account and can also log into multiple accounts with the same email address. So you would have seen that when I was logging in and out, I am able to select multiple sites. And that's because my email is added into multiple accounts, the same email as an admin. So that's why. Very good. Now, another user role that you might see here and be a little bit perplexed by is external verifier and internal auditor. These are kind of our specialty user roles. An external verifier can log into the admin console but can't edit anything. So this is for the use case of when you're adding a verifier or auditor to your account. So you want them to be able to log in, you want them to be able to use the reports functionality and view the completed forms that you've done, but you don't want them to be able to make any kinds of adjustments and changes to the settings in your account. Fair enough. So external verifier is a good way to add in a auditor or a verifier into your account. Now, the last details that you need to add in are the first name and last name. Those are the mandatory fields, kind of marked by that little asterisk. Anything else here, it might be a little bit daunting. You don't actually have to include. That said, let's talk about user notifications. So in SafeView Pro, we have a number of different ways to alert users of different events happening in your account. So for example, if you use our sensors, like our little hardware units, you can set your users up to receive, sensor notifications when they go out of range, if they stop reading or disconnect. You can toggle these little boxes for either email notifications to be sent to their inbox or in-app notifications to be sent as a push notification. Pretty simple. Now, very good. I'm going to cancel out of that. I hope that makes a lot of sense. If you would like to make any adjustments to these user records, you can click the little pencil button to open up the user and view their information. Now, I'd like to introduce something a little prematurely, and that's resources. If you have any documents like HACCP plans or certifications that need to be logged for their food safety, you can upload that as a resource, okay? Either as a file, like a PDF or a PNG, either as a link, to a share drive link or something online, or you can link them to an existing resource already in your account. Or lastly, you can add them as a certificate or a permit. This is a file that's going to expire at some time, and we use some different kinds of systems to alert you when it's about to expire. Great. And then you can also view their training history. So if they've completed induction forms from the mobile app, you can probably view those from here. So it's a good way of seeing all of their kind of training in one specific place. Okay, so that was a big, big topic. Let's go to something a lot easier. Okay. Again, feel free to watch this back and get familiar with the video, just because it is a lot of information. Okay, so take it easy. Now let's talk about suppliers. This is a lot simpler. Okay, this is basically a contacts list. To start adding to this, let's click Add New. We can either add one single supplier at a time, or you can bulk upload. Now, when I select bulk upload, I recommend clicking this little button here. That's going to download a template onto your computer, which you can then fill out according to these kinds of prompts. Okay, and the template is going to have a lot of information in it to help you in that process. When you're ready to upload that file, you can click Upload, and it'll prompt you to select that file from your computer and upload all of your suppliers into your account. Now, that's one way of doing it. If you have a lot of suppliers, that's how I would recommend doing it, just because in the end, it'll save you time. But if you only have a few suppliers that you need to log deliveries for or maintenance for, I would recommend just doing it one at a time. So first we select the supplier type, whether they are a goods supplier or a services supplier. So a goods supplier might be your fruit and veg supplier, whereas a services supplier will be someone that provides maintenance or like a pest inspector, for example. So select the supplier Josh's dairy products. Very good. Um, Again, you'll see a lot of information here. You don't actually need to complete all of it. Only look for the ones with the little asterisk. In this case, it's just these two. So if you have details that you would like to add, go ahead, add their fax number if you would like to. But if it doesn't apply, don't worry about it. It's quite all right. You can just save it with those two fields in there and you're good to go. Okay. Now, if we want to edit this, we can click the pencil icon. If we want to delete it, we can click the bin icon. Now, what is the use of this? Why are we creating this list? Well, basically, we can connect it to our templates so that when your team or yourself are completing forms on the day-to-day, you don't need to type out their name every time. We want to save you time down the line. So that is why we can link this list into your forms. So for example, this receiving a delivery form, I can click on it or tap on it. And then under supplier name, I've linked this question with this list. Okay, I've linked it with my suppliers page. From here, I can see all of my suppliers, minus Josh's dairy goods, just because I just added it. I need to refresh the app before I can see that. So that's why we want to make this as simple as possible and kind of create pre-made lists for your team so that you spend less time writing everything out all the time, you know? Okay, so that is suppliers. That is probably the easiest one. Let's talk about equipment. So one big part of food safety is ensuring that your equipment is up to scratch in terms of uh, temperatures. So how do we log temperatures? Well, on the mobile app, we've created this temperature check for chillers and cold cabinets with which links with our freezers and refrigeration pieces of equipment in this list. So all we need to do to get our temperatures up and running is upload all of our freezers and refrigeration. And if you do hot holding as well and heating equipment, you can do that too. We uh, we support that as well. So to do this, we click Add New Piece of Equipment. We select Add New Equipment. Into the name of the equipment, I recommend kind of having a system, like drinks fridge one if you have multiple drinks fridges, so that you can keep track of them a bit easier. And then the important part here is equipment category. Now, choose refrigeration or freezer if you want it to link to the temperature check automatically. You don't need to go into the form and add that piece of equipment in there. You just need to add it to the equipment list and it'll appear. Now, when I select refrigeration, under the settings here, we automatically suggest some warning thresholds. So when someone is completing the form and they select 8 degrees, you are alerted that that is way too high. You can always adjust these thresholds if need be to give a bit more grace to your team who are completing these forms. We also provide, templates for freezers. So when selecting freezer, we make that -15 to -22. Obviously, freezers can go a little bit colder than that without being non-compliant. So you can select -30 if your freezers are on the colder side as well. Great. So what am I going to call this? Josh's fridge, very creative. I'll select save. Oh, sorry, I forgot one part. How could I do that? We need to select who's maintaining this. Now, when I select this, this will pull through the services suppliers that we added to our suppliers list. So I'll select fridge maintenance man because I've added them in, and we need to determine how often we're going to be maintaining this piece of equipment or checking for maintenance. Now, this doesn't mean like giving it a clean. This means taking it apart and actually getting it professionally checked. So let's say we do this once per year or maintained every 2 years. Very good. Now, the maintenance fields, they will show up red when they're due. And they'll also appear on your dashboard right down here. Now, to actually update your maintenance, here's what you need to do. You need to go into the mobile app. You need to click the green plus icon to open up your form library. And then from there, find the regular equipment maintenance register form. From here, you just need to select the piece of equipment that you're needing to maintain, and we can see the last date that it was maintained. So in this case, it's store drink fridge. There we go. Describe what was done. Well, we got it maintained, didn't we? Tick. Any follow-up required? No follow-up. We're good. Save final. Enter my name. Enter my PIN. Very good. Now that I've done that, keep your eye on this field here. Click refresh. Boom. And it's updated to next year. Very good. So this is a part of logging your maintenance. You can check your dashboard for anything that needs maintenance and go to the mobile app, complete a maintenance form, and then it updates. It's very simple. Very good. Now let's actually talk about our forms. Okay. The forms page, I would say, is the most important part of SafeFood Pro because it is your food safety. What is your food safety if not the evidence that you're showing for your food safety practices? So how do we go about doing this? You'll see that in this list, we provide you a whole lot of different default templates. Now, if you are part of a group, your group admin might be making these forms for you. Your list might look a little bit different, but these are our default forms, okay? So what do we do here? This is a lot to work through. Do we need all of these forms? The short answer to that is probably not. You probably don't need all of these forms. It's kind of up to you to go through this list of templates and determine what is yours. Okay, and then we can update the schedule of those forms. We can turn them off if we don't need them. And then lastly, if you do need them, you can customize them to actually match your process. And I'll show you a little bit of that. But for the sake of time, I won't do a full deep dive on form building. We've got another webinar that is focused on that. Okay, so for example, end of day COVID-19 extra checks. Do I need this form? Not particularly. So I'll click the view to edit this form button, and this opens our beautiful form builder. There's a few different parts to this, but to turn off this form, make sure that we're not prompted to complete it and tidy up our form list, all we need to do is select form settings. And then under this form library, this form can be accessed by mobile users in the form library, ad hoc forms. We want to turn that off. Now, next up, we want to scroll down to form completion schedule. This determines whether it appears on the diary page. We want to make sure that's set to none. Now, if we wanted to schedule this form, we could do so. We could select daily and then configure what days of the week we want this form to appear on. So I was saying this earlier, but if you only work 6 days a week, not that that's not a lot of time, if you operate 6 days a week and you're off for Sundays, you can go through your daily forms and uncheck the little Sunday, and that'll mean that that form won't appear on Sundays. So this can be applied across the board. If you have different cleaning jobs that need to be done on different days, you can essentially create what is your own cleaning schedule using the form builder, using the scheduling options. Now, when we select daily, we also have the option to set alarms for these forms. This means that, let's see here. So how long before the form is due do we want to remind people to complete the form? That is if you want to remind your team about these forms. Say, for example, you have a morning cleaning checklist and you want people to complete it before 8 a.m. You could set the time it's due. Bada bing. Let's remove 12 p.m. And then select how long before the form is due do we want to remind people. So let's say 7:30. We want to remind people, hey, you got to do that cleaning checklist form. Okay, it's pretty simple. Now, the other side of this is escalations. As opposed to reminders, what this does is it sends an escalation email or notification if the form hasn't been completed within a certain time frame. So, number of minutes after the scheduled time the escalation is sent. Let's say at 8:30, if it's not completed, we want to send an email escalation to me. And this means that, again, if the form isn't completed on time and it's been over 30 minutes, I'll receive that notification. Now, that is quite a short amount of time, but you can set this all the way up to 20 hours after the form is due. Okay. There are a few other settings that I recommend going through and kind of customizing it to match your own needs. Okay. Very good. So our original plan was actually to turn this form off, make sure that it's not viewable and not basically invisible from the mobile app because we just don't need it. So to do this again, make sure the form library toggle is switched off, make sure that the form scheduling is also turned off, and click save. Now that form has disappeared. What if we want it in the future? We can click show unused forms, find our COVID-19 extra checks form, and we can go in and reverse those steps to turn it back on. There we go. So that's the scheduling aspect of SafeRoute Pro, but there are a few other things that we can do to our forms to customize them to our needs. Okay, for example, let's say our cleaning checklist doesn't actually match what we do on the day-to-day. For example, we don't have bench tops. What if you don't have bench tops? You're a avant-garde kitchen and you don't need to scrub bench tops because you don't have them. Well, in that case, we want to actually customize it to match our needs. We need to remove that checklist and maybe add in other checklists that are relevant to us. So to do this, we use our form building tools, okay? So we click a section to open it, and we can see that this is a collapsible panel. Now, a collapsible panel is just a box that contains text. Okay, so that could be instructions, that could be a warning. In this case, it's an explanation of how to scrub your bench tops. Now we actually want to delete this. So let's click delete this question, and that removes it from the form. Now let's also remove the question, the actual thing that people will be interacting with. Okay. Now to replace that, let's add some other questions. To do this, we have command panel or control panels at the bottom, on the side, and at the top of the page to help you build your forms. So to do this, let's click add a new question. Actually, we do have bench tops. We got audited and it was a nightmare, and now we have bench tops again. Okay, so let's put in the question text. This is what our team will be prompted with. So for example, scrub bench tops, and the yellow is the instruction text of the collapsible panel. Now after this, let's input the answer type. Okay, this is how your team are going to be interacting with the form, whether it's inputting some text, inputting a lot of text using multi-line text, inputting a number, a phone number. If it's a checkbox, yes, no, not applicable. We have 30 plus different answer types that you can utilize to customize your forms. I'm not even scratching the surface here with the form builder. Again, Michael, our SafeFood Pro Customer Success Manager, made an incredible webinar that I recommend if you are curious about how to do this. So in this case, we just want it to be a checkbox though. And then we want to make that required. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's save it. And then there we go. Now I have just edited one of our master forms. So that's one of our default templates. If you're just playing around with the form builder, getting familiar, that's totally fine. If you want to revert your changes, you can revert it to the way it was originally. Okay. Now, if you're not just editing our forms and you want to build out your own templates, that's completely fine. A lot of businesses with us definitely do that. We actually recommend that if you're a larger operation, you customize your checklist to make sense for you. Okay. To do that, you just click the little Add New Custom Form button at the top, input all the mandatory fields. So that's the form name, select form category, and then go through and build out your form. Again, Michael's webinar will go through this. Great. Now, lastly, we have resources. Resources are basically just documents, PDFs that you need accessible from the mobile app. It could be training materials, it could be certifications, it could just be equipment manuals. You can see I've got a lot of different little folders down here. It's basically just a storage system that allows you to upload and store your different documents how you would like to. Okay, so to get started, let's create a folder. This is where we're going to be uploading our different files. So to do that, I'll click the little three dots here. I'll select Add Folder, Josh's folder. When I select that, I'll be able to click on it and drag and drop different files from my computer into SafeFood Pro. Now, SafeFood Pro is great because you can actually bulk upload a lot of your files. You don't have to do one at a time. You can just select all of them from whether it's a Finder window or your media browser, whichever it is, you can upload those documents and name them as you need to. There we go. Okay, now that we've talked about resources a little bit, I'd like to talk about food items. Now, food items is a way that you can link your forms with the various food items that you cook. So I imagine when you're completing paper documents, you have to write out the name of the food item each time you're cooking it. So instead of doing that, you can create a pre-made list of all the food items that you're cooking so that you don't have to write it out, essentially. This applies to, proving cooking methods and cooling methods, that type of stuff. So if there's anything that you don't want to actually type out or write out every time you complete a cooling form or a proven method checklist, you can add to this list. Again, bulk upload is supported if you have a lot of items that you need to upload. Say you're a manufacturing company and you want to utilize this feature, that's a good way of going about it. Or you can click Add New Food Item to add one at a time. Let's go no, let's just go chicken thigh. That's a good one. And then we select the category. This is just a way that you can categorize your different food items to make them a bit easier to find. And you can also link different categories of food items into your forms. So if you only want things within ingredients appearing in your cooling food form, you can do it that way. So let's click save, chicken thigh. And to illustrate this, let me show you how this works. When I make changes, I need to go through and refresh the app so that those changes pull through. That's just something to bear in mind as well. So cooling food, batch check. Now under food item, I can see my ingredient here. Boom. Great. Amazing. So that is setting up an account. Goodness gracious, we made it, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I really, really do appreciate it. If you do have any questions, you can contact us if you need to. There's a little help beacon in the bottom right-hand corner here that you can click. You can view different articles that we've written and get help that way, or you can directly ask the support team, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions if you are curious or if you experience any bugs, in which case you'll be speaking directly with me. And yeah, hey, thank you everyone so much for hopping in. Again, this is a lot of information. If you have any questions or if you're struggling, just take it slow. Take it slow. There's a lot to learn. I hope everyone has a great day.